My name is Katie Leung and I'm an actor. And I've been doing it for, God, about 13, 14 years now. I remember going to panto when I was in primary school, every Christmas. That was probably the extent of, my exposure to like theatre and the arts. And we had maybe like a play on every Christmas as well. And I remember one year, I think it must have been in like primary 6 or 7, and we did Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I remember watching the girl who'd been cast as Joseph and like her being on stage rehearsing, and being like in absolute awe of her being up there and wanting to know what it felt like to be her, but at the same time feeling that like I could never be her because I was introverted and shy. So I think there were a few kind of occasions where that happened to me when I saw somebody on stage. Acting really wasn't a first choice for me when I was trying to decide what I wanted to do. We had career advisors coming into our school asking us the very same question when I was about 14. And I remember being really envious of my friends because they knew exactly what they wanted to do. And I was just baffled. I was like, how can you know? And I remember sitting with somebody and they were asking me what my favourite subjects were. And I was like, biology, art. And then she just and then from that one session that I had with her, she was like, oh, you would make a really good marine biologist. And I was like, that makes no sense. That makes no sense. So I don't know. I just, even when I started my acting career, I fell into it. So I didn't necessarily think that was me sorted. So I did actually went back to study photography, and then I kind of dabbled in a bit of finance. So I felt like I just maybe wasn't confident enough to think of myself as somebody who could be a successful actor. So I think I just had plan B, plan C, plan D, and then eventually I got an audition for a part in a play at the Young Vic. I think this was back in 2011 or 12, and it was, I'd never done any stage work. I'd been in front of the camera, but not on the stage. And so I got the part, and as soon as that happened, and I got a taste of being on stage, I was like, no, I need to do this. Yeah, I think right now it has been a really difficult time for everybody, trying to kind of stay on top of not just their creativity, but like mental health. And I think you kind of really have to deal with that before anything else. So I think it's important for young people to, really look after themselves, and like don't feel pressured to be creative if you're just not in the mind for it, because really it's hard to, yeah, I don't know. I think before, when I first started out, I I didn't really care about what I was going through. It was more that there's this pressure because of like our industry, and like everyone's just trying to get a job and trying to like work their way up. And I think like this is a time where you really have to kind of deal with your own feelings and your emotions, and I think if you can really sit with them, then I think it will ultimately help towards your creativity. Just like getting to know yourself better, and yeah, and actually not having that pressure of when's my next job, or how am I gonna um, how am I going to get to this place? It's we're kind of like all in a similar situation, and we can be creative for the sake of being creative because it's what we love to do, and we don't have to think about all the other things. So a very memorable kind of moment in my kind of acting career for me was when I auditioned for a role for a play at the National Theatre. It was called The World of Extreme Happiness, and it was at the Shed, which was a temporary space that was put up at the time. And it was one of my favourite kind of jobs I've ever done. I remember reading the script, and this doesn't happen often for me anyway, like where I read something and think, oh my God, like I have to do this, or I have to get this part. And this was one of the kind of very few and rare moments in my life, and I just, I don't know, I just felt like I was like, it's mine, it's mine. I need to get it. And I remember like just working really hard um, in preparation for the audition, and uh, and just feeling really good about it once I'd come out of the audition room as well. And it wasn't, I ended up, getting the job, and that was amazing. But it was just that feeling of, reading something so incredible and really wanting to be involved, wanting to tell the story. Yeah, so nothing beats kind of that feeling when you just want to be part of something. How do I prepare for an audition? Um, so sometimes it depends, like, on how much material you get. Sometimes you get just the sides alone, and then you have to kind of come up with a backstory, and sometimes you get the full script. So it really, like, each audition is very individual. But I try and do as much kind of research or prep as I can with what they've given me. And like with most theatre auditions, you're not expected to be off book, which is, I find, always really helpful, because I'm like, well, you know, I know it really well, but the last thing I want to do is like for it to be a memory test. So I think it's really helpful when the lines are in front of you, so you can just use it as reference. But then, like, prepping enough so that you kind of what's going on in the scene or the story, but also like not prepping too much, so that there's room for, you know if the director wants you to do it differently, there's a bit of flexibility there, because I think the danger is if you do work on it way too much, then you're kind of a bit stuck. So I do like to just kind of, I think I always know as well when I've maybe done too much work, or I've stayed up till 3 a.m. Trying to like make it more complicated than it actually is. So you know, and I think generally you do know when you've kind of maybe overdone it. But prepping is really important, and you just have to trust that you've done the work. I think my one advice, which I'm still trying to kind of like constantly remind myself, is that it's really important to not to try to fit in. I think we always have an idea of what someone might want from us, and I think that always kind of gets in the way of your own truth. And you have to really believe and trust that what you bring to the table is unique and enough. And and so, yeah, I think it's just, you have to really constantly remind yourself that yeah, that what you do is enough, and it has to be truthful, and your truth is going to be different from someone else's truth.